welcome you to our special call meeting tonight, June 1st, 2021. I'm calling this meeting to order. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion, Bruce.
Second.
Motion by Bruce, second by
Second.
Louis. All in favor say aye.
Louis.
I mean Ricky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Ricky. Thank you all. Item 2, new business. A, to approve bills.
It's one check for a deposit for the flooring,
Okay.
$60,000.
Okay. For the new flooring?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve this bill?
Motion.
Motion Bruce,
Janice.
second Janice. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, consider a motion to approve bid for mowing contract.
So our previous contractor stepped down from that role this past month, and so we put out for bids. We only received one bid. I've got it here. It's in the board folder. Facilities looked over and said it's comparable to what we were paying for the mow, and they walked through what all it is, so you can take a look at it. So it's in the board folder, but that's the only bid we received.
Will they be the ones mowing the football field, or is it going to be somebody
No,
else?
Mark Horn will still do the football field.
Okay.
They've done that for free for as long as I've heard of. But
And Mr.
Okay.
Maggard.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this is the rest of the
Okay,
facilities.
I just want, I know, because it takes a special mower to.
Yeah, he
Okay.
he loves doing that. So I would recommend we accept that bid.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the bid for the mowing contract?
Motion, Bruce.
Motion Bruce. Do I hear a second?
Janice.
Second Janice. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item C, consider a motion to amend the 2021-2022 salary schedule.
This is one small change. Want to decrease the superintendent's secretary days from 230 to 210. And that's the only change. We've kind of got that position being a share, even though Jennifer's moving to Glenna's spot, she's still going to take on some of those responsibilities. It's going to be a good thing, and we hope to announce who we're hiring for this the next day or two as well. I'm pretty pumped.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds good. So do I hear a motion to amend the 2021-2022 salary schedule per Mr. McCauley's recommendation?
I do
Motion,
Janice
Bruce.
Shepherd.
Janice makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
Bruce.
Bruce, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Superintendent's message. Item 3, discussion about facilities updates, including potential new construction.
So the quick update is we have placed the order for flooring for 66 classrooms and spaces. That includes the space as well here. We've ordered desks and chairs for every classroom that's being used. And it looks like, fingers crossed with COVID, that this all might happen this summer. So there's a chance that we'll get our flooring and desks and tables and chairs installed throughout the district this summer. If not, it will be some of it started this summer and then we finish as we go through the year. But really, really exciting it's been a lot of work going into that, just trying to make sure we get the right stuff. There's probably going to be 4 to 5 rooms that aren't part of the process that will eventually be part of that, but they didn't measure one they were supposed to, and then rather than waiting to redo the whole order, we went ahead and placed this order that we knew what we wanted, and then we'll clean up those 4 to 5 rooms on the back end. So, but all that came in under budget, just barely, but under what we had shared budget-wise. We've got someone that's going to start on the rock wall out for about facing Houston Avenue. That should look like the Walk of Honor as you come around that corner. The whole wall will. Really pumped about that. We've got someone doing the landscaping that will start any day now with some of the flowers and bushes, and our ag kids have done a lot with that. All those under budget. I'm trying to think what the other big item is.
Signs.
The signs. So we've already ordered the signs for the elementary school and the middle and high school. Those are about 10 weeks out. So right around the start of school, both of those will happen. They're going to be video signs. So like they'll be clear picture, 6 millimeter pixels, like the smallest. It should be, he said if you sit far enough, sit at the right spot, like you could play video games on this, on
Wow.
the screens, like it
Okay,
should be
now the
that.
signs, I'm not up to date on that. What kind of signs are being put up?
A new Paris Elementary sign, a new middle and high school sign, like the marquee sign, sorry. The
Oh,
marquee.
okay.
Are
So,
we getting any sponsors for that?
well, we're using these ESSER funds for that, so.
Well, I meant, could that be one of those things that, like,
We sell advertisements,
Yeah.
but, I mean, potentially,
Yeah.
we can look at that.
because one of the guys we talked to at the board, they do the scoreboards
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and they
Yes.
have,
I mean,
and that's what they said. They said 90% of the people they sell to, when they buy them, they're already paid for them.
Gotcha. Well, that's prime, I mean, that's a prime spot there on Main Street especially. I mean, this is a good one here, but that's a prime spot on Main Street, especially with construction, you have to go so slow. You got a long viewing cycle. And then the other last ones were finalizing the order for new furnishings in the cafeteria over here. That will be awesome. There were some really cool logos. Whitney partnered with the company, and there's going to be tabletops with our logos on it, with P's on the back of some of the chairs. We're getting majority of the seating is still chair back. Like when you think cafeteria, a lot of places it's the fold up table with the bench, and I was like,
Or the little stools that
Yeah.
pop around.
and we have so many community events. Like there's a couple this week in that space that you really don't want to sit on a stool for 2 hours. So we're gonna have good chairs and majority of that seating. I'm just pumped about. I think that's going to be transformational when people walk in. I just can't wait for whenever the group comes in. That's after that's been done. It's going to be jaw dropping.
What are we doing with the extra?
Probably have some alumni.
A lot.
involved.
So that's one thing I want to put on the 15th agenda, but we're going to need to surplus a lot of stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll have some ideas and plans to present to you all at the June 15 meeting,
Okay.
talking about if we want to donate some, or there's some schools that have reached out that had some flooding issues. If we want to, some of the better stuff we could give away, if we want to try to auction things off, like the big step will be surplusing everything so we can get it out of the way, and then we can decide from there about selling or
I like the
giving
idea
or
of
donating.
I like the donating.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense,
Yes.
but there may be a few key items. I mean, it's just crazy how like these tables and the cafeteria, like people come in, it's probably the same ones you all
Yes.
had.
Yes.
Down the Mayflower.
So we know it is at least 50 years old, don't we?
So there, it's cool. It's held up that well, but it's gonna be transformational. So I don't want. They're still really got a lot of life in them. So,
Okay.
but surplusing will be the big key. There will be a master list of surplusing.
Are we doing anything at the elementary
Yeah,
cafeteria?
not the cafeteria. So that's kind of what the next piece would be. Getting into the new construction. So, and that's really what I'm going to talk to you all about is. I've got some timeline information about the nickel tax, which we've talked about in previous meetings. Just a quick rundown of what that would look like. And we know that if we're able to pass the recallable nickel, it would increase our bonding to between $4.5 $5 million that we'd be able to build a nice new structure. The other thing that our fiscal agent, my conversation with them today, they mentioned potentially going for 2 nickels. They said they're going to help crunch the numbers about where our tax rate would be if we lower it even more and build in 2 nickels, would double that bonding capacity. And if we could,
Oh, is the state still matching?
yeah.
Okay.
So as of right now, and I think they're just going to be forced to do it. They'll get into lawsuits if they match some and don't match others, I believe. But that's something that's on the radar. We'll have to see what that number is. I don't know if our general fund can sustain lowering our tax rate that low to shift that much money towards facilities and construction. So, but as it stands with the nickel, what we've talked about in the past was usually right around the end of July 25th, we get our tax rates. It's just that document that here's the compensating, here's the 4%, and here's the nickel. At that time, we would need to advertise for 2 weeks that just says comparison, we're planning to set the tax rate, or have a hearing to set the tax rate at this. We run that for 2 weeks in the paper. Within 45 days from first receiving it, we have that hearing. We let the public come in and say, no, we should do that, or yes, we should, whatever it might be. And then we could have a meeting potentially right after. That's typically how it's done. So the hearing and then a meeting, and you'd vote to approve it. Then a second 45-day window begins that says the community would have 45 days to get a petition together to potentially recall that nickel.
Did they change the rules on how they can go about getting that? Because
It was going to be changed.
It didn't get changed?
Well, it's not that it's going to impact us, like the population.
Well, it wasn't yeah, I think,
We're still 10% of the last presidential.
well, yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a higher turnout last, I don't know what the exact number is, it's probably 400 or 500 would be
Yeah.
the number for that. So, so moving on from that, so you got a 45-day window after the board votes to approve it. If there's nothing that happens there, then it would go into effect, and it would be, the tax rate. What we had talked about previously, so these are rough numbers, these are not the exact number. We're at 68.7 cents right now per hundred. We lowered it 11.7 cents last year. It was 80.4. If our nickel is actually, based on the calculation, is actually 5.7 cents, or it was last year, and we don't think it'll change much. So if we just did the straight nickel on top of the same rate, you're looking at 74.4. That would be a 5.7 cent increase. Rather than pushing the full nickel onto everyone, the idea would be we could potentially lower the rate, the actual rate, 2, 3, 4 cents, depending on what it would be, and then put that 5.7 on top of it. So it's not much of a burden on the taxpayer, but still built in the nickel, but it would lower our general fund revenue. But we believe we've got enough funds through full day kindergarten and some of the offsetting that ESSER funds are taken to sustain that for a few years.
Sounds good to me.
So that would get it down in the, just shooting from the hip, it has to be at least whatever the 4% is, plus 0.1% on top of that. So if the 4% rate if our current rate is 68.7, whatever the 4% revenue increase would probably be in the 71-ish range. We'd have to go, if it was 71, we'd have to go to 71.1 to do the recallable nickel, and that's how it would be set. And then if for some reason it even gets recalled, it just goes back to the 4%. So we'd lose 0.10, a tenth of a cent on the whole thing. So I think the way we're couching it, it would be really hard not to get behind it, because it's just, we're lowering the rate to build in this so we can improve facilities.
So on the finance guys, did they take into account COVID pricing for building materials?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that will change. By the time this project comes to fruition, I mean, we're probably looking at, maybe breaking ground next spring. I mean, that would be my hope, and who knows what prices will be, but
Okay.
that will change. And that's another reason why, we could look at the double nickel, which would be 10 cents of the rate being shifted directly towards facilities.
I mean, we haven't built anything
Since the gym.
since '92. I mean, it's
Yeah.
31, it'll be 30 years next year.
Yeah. But right now, as you all know, we're bonded out, we're maxed out as far as like leveraging so the only way we can build something new is to pass this nickel that gets matched. But like I said, we could lower that rate. So let's say 2 nickels would probably put us down in the actual rate being, 60 cents plus 11.4 cents on top of that, back up to 71.4. We'd have to we're going to crunch some numbers with our fiscal agent to say, could we really function at 60 cents when we were at 80 cents, 2 years ago or a year ago. So I don't know that we can do that. If we can, a potential double nickel, I mean, if you're going to do it, that's something that'll be there for the rest of the life of the
So
district.
the only time you can do the recallable is within that first 45 days. After that,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
After, yeah, so if there's not a petition filed and with enough signatures at the county clerk, then it goes into effect. If there's a petition filed, then it comes back to us to either say, hey, we want to put it on the ballot, we have to pay for that, or we just, scrap it. So that's, something that would have to be waived.
There's not any type of general election this year, is there?
I don't think so.
I mean, I don't even think there's any local election. Because
No.
everybody is,
Right,
it's that weird year of,
yeah.
Yeah, so I think, it's just, like, the way we're building this is not throwing it all on top of the tax rate and just saying we're gonna raise it 6 cents or 5.7 cents. It's saying we're doing this as low as we possibly can to still get the match from the state so that we can build a new facility, which brings me to the next point. I want to come back to the questions on this, but, with that timeline, we're talking about 8-9 weeks from now, we're gonna get that tax rate, and then we're starting advertising. What I'd like to discuss with you all is what you'd like to see me and us do over the next 8 weeks to get the word out about this, and, to what level of communication do we want to do that, not for whatever.
in the 2 classes I took that talked about the nickel, the biggest thing that they talked about was getting the community on board on exactly what we're doing. It's not like in other places where, it's like we're going to do the double nickel, and so in the future. For us, it's like we want to do, and I'm just saying the double nickel. In the double nickel, we're going to get a new preschool building, up-to-date cafeteria,
Community center.
at Southside. And it's gonna be, and it's not just gonna be, it's not just gonna be for the school, it's gonna be for the community. And that was the thing, is like we have to build our facility story of why and how it's gonna affect the city of Paris. And that's the biggest thing, is like, do we even have a rendering, or we even?
Yeah, I sent one to you guys a while back, and
That's awesome.
And that's the thing, if we're going that direction, which I'm a fan of, like I could, if we're going that direction, within a week, Whitney and I will put together a 5 to 7 slide PowerPoint that will have a rendering. We'll walk people through the numbers, explain how we're just doing the bare minimum of the increase and what impact it can have with that. And then I'll go to Rotary, I'll go to Kiwanis, I'll go to EDA, I'll go to Chamber and share that information. We'll put it in the newspaper and just be completely transparent with it. But like you said, tie it to that need of, because we're also going to have a trailer in front of Paris Elementary this fall. That's because we don't have enough room for our preschool and our elementary. So I think the need's really there. But I think we're tying it directly to that building. That's going to be, like I said, a community center, cafeteria. I'd like for it to be big enough to have a gym in it where you could play little kids basketball league or whatever it might be.
What are we gonna do with the current cafeteria?
That's a great question. I think it's a great space, but it's also down in the basement.
I felt like I was being punished the day I was
Yeah.
in there.
I think we can get creative with that space.
To me, that would be almost like the perfect STEM place,
Yeah, it could be.
because you could have your lab and everything, and
Yeah.
does it have its own separate place that you can get out of?
You get a maze through the back of a couple of closets through the back of the kitchen, so it's not got great access for getting out, but then you have to come out steps there.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to think of, how we could make it, that part of it marketable too, where it's like, okay, it's like, we're getting rid of this kitchen, but this is what's going in its place. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I agree. And the big piece of what will happen in this new building is the preschool center. We're talking about a big chunk of our population coming through the preschool, getting 3, 4, 5 preschool classrooms and a big multi-purpose room that we could use. That's where we're growing at right now. I think we'll only continue to, so.
Is that gonna be on the lot that we already own?
I mean, that's
So
the other
you
thing we
can-
can look at. I mean, we've talked about the motel, and if this passes, especially if we somehow can work, I don't even want to talk much about that. I don't want to get the double nickel going until we know that's even possible. But if that were an option, that would, double that bonding capacity, and then you're talking about that lot, potentially putting something on that one or parking over there or whatever it might be. There's tons of options if that comes about. And it may be one of those where we see the numbers and where we can't maybe we can't go 5.7 cents twice, but we could go 5.7 cents twice and maybe only, and instead of setting the rate at 71, we set it at 73. And that's something where we can't cut our general fund revenue that much, but we could cut it, some and still get the double nickel. And that's what we've got. The board would have to decide on, at the end of July, once we know the exact numbers. And because that's where, obviously the higher you set the tax rate, the more people are going to call you and let you know about it. But if it's able to get the double nickel, where you're talking about bonding capacity to meet all the facilities needs for, a generation and beyond, then if you can sell that, and that's what I'm game for whatever. I want this to happen. I think it's the biggest thing. So if I'm here 15 years, it's the biggest thing that can happen for the district. But I'm not the one voting on it, and not the one. I'm sure I'll get calls too. But it's just it really is a board's decision.
I mean, for me, I would just say we try for the double nickel just because, I mean, but we market it the right way so that, it's not my kids that we're building this for. It's Derek and Noah. It's
Our grandkids.
it's our great grandkids that we're building this for. It's not the class of 2025. It's the class of 2035.
I think if you explain it all to the parents and things, most of them will go with it.
I think
Just
so
let them
too,
know
Ricky.
what we're doing. We're not trying to do nothing behind the back. Just be upfront with them, just tell them what we're doing. And I think most people go for it.
Yeah, and I think once we get the specific numbers, where we see if the double nickel is a possibility, we basically figure out exactly how low we can set the actual rate that we can still survive on, because it will be a big decrease, and then put the double on top of it, and then we just have to say, is that something you're good with or not? If it could be 72, it could be 75, but whatever.
So so if we get to 900 in 4 years after,
Yeah,
will that seek money? Will that like offset some of the?
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the, I don't want to say gamble, but that's the calculated move we're making now. We're putting so much into our facilities, into our schools, to say this is the place to be. And I think if we grow by 100, we're at a spot where we could support many of the initiatives already that we're putting in place just this year. The additional staffing, it's just that growth, because our overhead just doesn't change. The same lights are on, the same heat's on. Our overhead's not that much more if we add another 100 kids or even 200.
Okay.
So that's the goal. I mean,
Let's shoot for 200, okay?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where it's at. So if you all are good with that, we'll put together communication and start spreading the word, just basically in broad terms, and saying this is why we're trying to do this. This is where our growth is happening. And then as the numbers come out, I hope that it's one that we're in support. Harrison County's doing this right now. Friends with that superintendent. And a lot of people know a lot of people in that community, and they've had nothing but support because they've just gotten out and talked to the groups, and they know why they're doing it. Like I said, they're building a new high school. It's 60 60-plus years old. It's time, they're ready for new high school, and we've got a need for it as well. This facility will serve so many needs, but one due to our growth, and the other, and as far as, I mean, I would love coming down Main Street and you just see a beautiful building right there on the side of it. Like, everybody coming in, everybody that supports downtown Paris would be, I would think, a fan of that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think because our facilities are so old, and would you say it's been 30, and we had like the new gym was built, it's been 30 years
It's
already.
been 1992.
Wow. I kind of look at it this way. Don't our children deserve the best?
Yeah.
I think I would be excited about it.
oh, I'm very excited. Like, I think it's going to be awesome and a game changer for us, and I think a game changer for Paris. Like, it's more than just school district. Like, I feel like we're the anchor, one of the big anchors of the community. And if we're doing well, the whole city's doing well, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's always one thing that, like, Bourbon and Paris as a whole, in that Paris and Bourbon County, we offer a lot of things that in a small community that bigger counties have. I mean, we have 4 school systems. We have the Bourbon Christian, we have St. Mary's, Bourbon, and Paris. And, even though Bourbon is 4A, it's still small enough. It's not a big 4A school.
Yeah.
And so it still has its advantages. I mean, we have more, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are starting to like hear about the dual credit that we have with UK, and it's like, and they're like, you mean y'all saved like $250,000 in this class alone? It's like, yeah. I mean, I was talking to an administrator from Fayette County, and I told him that, and he was just like, he's like, figure out how to pay me more and I'll come. So I was like, all right. So, I mean, once we start really pushing Paris, especially with the open enrollment, our potential is crazy.
Yeah.
For people wanting to be a part of what we're doing. So I say we go all out.
All right.
Well, I think that we just need to be very transparent about this.
Yeah.
And I think we got the right man to sell it.
I agree, because I think for so long we've kind of, we've not been the shiny penny, we've looked like an institution. And just to see the upgrades that
So
are occurring,
far.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome, Even you pressure washing the wall, that building, that, oh, I mean, it looks awesome,
Yeah. It's
It's like
all
everybody's starting to take pride into
Mm-hmm.
our product here. So,
That's all I got.
I think you have us on board.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
And we'll go into more detail in the next meeting.
Yes.
Are we
the
gonna
15th
have
will be-
another workshop about it, or?
Well, the
Wait,
15th is a
15th?
regular meeting, and then we actually have to meet on the 30th to close out some bills.
I
So
thought we did.
I think that'll just be another time that we'll close out the end of the year bills, and then we can get to more discussions, because that'll be getting closer to that time. And I'll be able to give you an update of what who we've met with and shared some of the plans with, and kind of get an idea with, once it starts getting out, what people are saying.
I mean, I've talked to people and I told them what we wanted to do, and the feedback I've got back has been like, why not?
Yeah.
The school needs it and it's meeting the need, so.
Yeah.
So we'll meet at our next regular board meeting and the 30th.
Yeah, I believe it's the
The
30th.
30th is a Wednesday.
Yeah, it might be the 29th. Let me confirm that, but for sure
Okay.
the 15th is a regular.
Okay. Parents, have any questions? Ricky, I apologize for calling you.
to it.
I'm used to him being at the end of the table. Okay, if there's no further discussion, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion Bruce, second. Ricky, all in favor say aye.
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 That's kind of
Motion
odd.
carries.
You didn't say it, Janice.
I know.
Thank you.